Sweet. All right. Let's see if I can clean that off a bit. Awesome. Get some stuff moved. All right. Let's see. What up? How you guys doing? We're about to get started. I'll make sure I have enough space. When I do like post up comics, it works. Hola Nati. It's gonna be fun. Valor Comic Services. Yes, we're gonna do some comic grade talk. I'm about to get my guest who does comic pressing, and he also grades books, and I'm gonna ask him questions on advice for people getting new into the game of comic grading, because it's important to yeah. Oh, maybe this is him. Let's go. I don't know. Let's see. This could be. There we go.
Hey, man.
There we go. You have your other page. I have
Yeah,
to add you there.
yeah, it's been a process.
I didn't even know.
Just trying to,
I didn't even know. I went directly looking for you.
yeah, it's been a process and trying to get different things figured out.
Of course, dude, I'm always troubleshooting, and
Hmm.
sometimes you always are going to make mistakes. That's how you learn.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
That's what brings me to wanting to have you as my guest. I'm so excited because having had Dad CCC, why don't you introduce yourself and kind of what you like to do with comics?
All right, man. So with Happy Dad CCC, that was kind of like a personal account. It was really big into action figures. So, I was like collecting the Marvel Legends line and everything like that. But I've been a comic book fan way longer than anything like that. So what I've been doing is kind of going back to the basics with it and getting involved with getting comic books graded. And it started everything that I was doing for myself, just started doing for friends, and then it started branching over. It's like, well, hey, if I'm passionate about this, then why not start trying to make a business out of it?
It's awesome, and I wanted to uh, just ask you a bunch of different questions personally, but mainly because I think a lot of people get into comics and then they kind of like get to a point where they're like, okay, I have this cool collection. I think I don't really know, but I also really love some of these books so much, and you don't really want to, lose them and get them damaged. And I feel like grading them is the next best thing if you're a collector. And then if you're looking to invest in it down the road and leave them for your family or whatever the case be, it's like, then you don't even have to deal with, hey, I have to put near mint and take like 80 pictures of the book.
Hmm.
So like I've realized, why even bother like dealing with that when I could just have a graded book and there's no dispute. It's like I take a couple pics, put it up. You want it, you want it. You don't, you don't. Kind of thing.
And that's exactly right. Because when it comes to grading and everything like that, for forever, it was subjective. What I said is very good or near mint, you may have a completely different perception of it. Hey, Spidey Jew,
What up,
thanks for joining
Spidey?
with us, man.
Hell yeah. Thank you, bro. Thanks for the support.
For sure. But, my perception of near mint could be completely different from yours. So everything used to be on, an alphabetic scale where you'd have like near mint, good, very good, fair. So instead of going through that process, now you can put a numerical scale on it where you start having like your 9 O's, 7 O's, fives, so forth and so on. And with that numerical scale, then you can attach a dollar value to it. And it's a lot easier to track and start having statistics to back pricings and you can start following trends. It's just overall easier.
What would you like recommend for someone that wants to do their first grading submission and is curious about pressing, is curious about all these different things? They've been doing their homework, kind of, so to speak, but they don't really know like where they should really start, what books they should grade, all these different little things. I know it's like a big question, but what would you say is like the best thing to start off with?
Start with your favorites. Like, probably the easiest thing to do is find books that you remember looking at as a kid, or anything that's going to trigger nostalgia, or anything that you just enjoy looking at. Because if you can get a few of them knocked out, just that you're going to appreciate regardless of the grade to come back, then you can go ahead and scratch that itch of wanting to get books graded, and you already kind of have a better sense of how the system works. So once you get through this first little trial, then you can be like, okay, well, now I kind of know what to expect next time. And then it'll also let you start getting more familiar with the condition of books. Like, say, if you're looking at your raw books and you start thinking, well, maybe in my head, this is near mint, then it comes back a 7. Well, then you start rethinking the concept of grading, and it's just like, okay, well, maybe there's things that I overlooked. And then after you send this off to a grader and you get something called grader notes. Now with CGC and CBCS, you can already get grader notes from books that have already been graded. With CGC, you have to pay for them. It's normally $5. But when you submit under your own account, or someone like me who has an account would give those notes to you, then you can start getting into kind of the nitty gritty things that you would often overlook. For instance, I've had books come back way lower grade, and I'll be like, well, why? And then you start finding things like thumbprints. Like, you'd be surprised how many books get bumped in grade because of a thumbprint. And it can be anywhere from, like, say with their numerical scale being 9.8, it can go down from a 9.8 to a 9.2 just because
Wow.
of a thumbprint.
So we're talking almost a full point, and you don't even get grader notes if you don't pay this extra fee on top of your submission to CGC.
Now, sometimes you get the notes, sometimes you don't. It's not always for sure you get notes, but I would say a good 80% of the time you'll get notes for all of your books.
And CGC is the main grader of comics. Obviously, there's CBCS, right?
Yes, there's 3 that are really known for comic book grading. CGC is the top tier one. Like, that's what everyone kind of goes for. Now CGC gets backed up, and then people start going to another one called CBCS. So CBCS is considered your number 2 grading company, and then the last one is one called PGX. PGX is labeled, their slabs look poor, as well as they kind of have poor results, and their grading scales are often flawed.
Okay. See, I come from a card background, so for me, I got into the grading game a little late. I only had one order at PSA, and
Hmm.
PSA is like the main dog with trading cards. So Beckett was also shut down because of the pandemic, or they were just overloaded. So it was too expensive to submit unless you had a really rare card. And
Yeah.
so I've been doing SGC because I haven't even gotten feedback from my first PSA order. So I don't even know. I just wanted experience. So that's what I kind of did. And it kind of feels similar to comic book grading when maybe it might be a good route to start with a different company just for your first submission, just to kind of learn and see, like, I don't know, like, what do you think about those kind of
You,
things?
So you definitely can do that. I just think that if it's something that's going to have more value to you, then you would want to go with CGC, just because to me the slabs look better.
Right.
And if you're going to, regardless of which route you go, you kind of want to appreciate your own time, because you're going to be sitting and waiting on these books either way you go. So
Hmm.
you kind of want to have more fulfillment whenever it does come back from this process.
Well, luckily I wasn't bad. Like, my grades came out good with trading cards, so I feel like I'm confident enough to go with CGC. I want to do a CGC submission, and moreover, I'm talking to you because I want to know more about pressing. Like, what is pressing basically? Like, is it just the cover? Is it what are we talking about? What is the process?
So with pressing, it's putting a comic book under constant stress and heat. There's different ways you can use it, but the way I use it is using a t-shirt press, kind of like you'd say if you had a vinyl printer, how you would just put it on a t-shirt, then open and close a heat press, and then you would have your results in there. It's the same thing. You put it at a low temperature, you let it sit for anywhere from 12 to 24 hours. That way it still has that constant amount of pressure, and it's still kind of just flattening out all the little kinks of everything.
Okay.
So say if something's like wrinkled, the example that I use a lot is, say if I had a piece of paper, right, and it's all crumbled up like that. Well, now you're going to have all these bends and the creases and stuff like that. So after it's been applied a bunch of heat and pressure for X amount of time, it's going to flatten back out.
So
And that's a,
if you have a bend on a corner and
mm-hmm.
it was maybe it was put in back badly, or it was just no, they didn't notice, and then it was stacked with the rest of their comics, and now you have just a really folded corner. Does a press help with that kind of issue, or no?
It can, but it depends on how severe the bend is. So with that, it's something called color breaking. And the example that you're using is normally referred to as a dog ear. It's where, say, if you were putting a comic book into a sleeve and that little corner just kind of bends, flares backwards like that, and it goes down. So now you have almost kind of a bookmark. So if it's color breaking, then you really can't, because anything that's considered creasing or color breaking, a press isn't going to take that out because the damage is already, it's pretty much created a scar on the book. But if it's not
Okay.
color breaking or crease, it has a crease, then it can be pressed out.
I've noticed some of my books on the spine, I'll show
Mm-hmm.
you in a bit, have like
Okay.
these like indents on it, and they have these kind of like cracks on them. What are those called?
Are they spine ticks?
Yeah, they're like spine ticks, but it looks like it lost some of the color on some of them. Like for covers that were like a strong color, like a
Mm-hmm.
black or a dark, red or green. And I don't have a lot of them like that, but I've noticed like some of the books maybe that I read when I was younger, or were opened a lot by other readers, that I purchased used,
Yeah.
and I'm starting to notice that no more.
Well, that's another thing. Books that are solid black, solid white, or solid red, those books are really hard to get high grades of, just because of how long they've been around and going through all these different situations and scenarios. It's really hard to get those to come back in a high grade.
How long have you been grading comics for?
Close to 7 years.
My goodness.
Like that's how long I've been going through the process of getting books graded by CGC.
What is
I'm
the
right at seven
turnaround time
years.
on average with CGC?
So there's different ways you can do it. They have things called fast tracking. Fast tracking, whenever you pay it, is normally $10 extra per book, but it cuts down your turnaround time by close to 40%. So if you fast track a book right now, you're looking at a turnaround time of close to 2.5 months. If you
Well,
don't
then,
fast track it, it's about 5.
so then regular service right now, as of if I send in some books or you were to send in an order, it would take about like 5 months,
Hmm.
like the
But
whole time.
the way I do it with every book that I work on and send for people, I fast track everything. So like say whenever the
So,
bill comes due and everything like that, fast track is included.
so when you're pressing the books, you're also submitting them for the customer,
That's right.
for
So
people.
mhm. You can use it through my account, which I don't mind at all. Or if you have an account with CGC, then we can always use yours. It's whatever your preference is. Some people don't care. They just want to go ahead and get books graded, sent out, worked on. That way they can get it coming back. But it's however you want to do it. CGC does offer different tiered memberships. They have a free basic membership that kind of just lets you use their website, and you can submit books for signings. But as far as to submit books being sent to them in Florida, then you have to start paying for a different membership, and that's only about $150 annually.
Okay. Okay. That's really good to know, because I think like a lot of times people do CGC and they're adding all these different services. They're not realizing the fact that it can add up fast. Like you could get the book, the review, the grade review, the pressing services, all these other things. And then it becomes like if you're not sending in the right book, you're probably going to be sitting on it in your collection for a while. You know, that's also another thing.
That's exactly right. And actually, recently, it was kind of an experiment. But one thing that we did, and I did this for Justin, I worked on one of his books, and they have a thing called Express, where you can submit a book to CGC via Express, and you would just write Express all over the box, and it was received, graded, and sent back to me in 5 days.
Wow. So
And
then
then,
if you have something you need to move, you could
mhm,
technically you could technically go that route and really get things going.
yeah, if you are willing to spend, and it's close to about $150 to have it graded that way, but say if you just happen to land a really huge key book, right? And you were going to flip it quick, you're going to make your money. Like you have some crazy aunt that's just like, hey, I have these old box of comic books, and you find a Fantastic Four #1 or an X-Men one, like one of those big key issues, then you would definitely do that. You would
I
get it to
want
them
one
as
of
soon as possible.
I get one of those crazy ants. Do you have a crazy ant available? I'll take
I,
it.
I don't. I wish I did. I wish I did. That'd be amazing.
My
But you
goodness.
hear weird
Well, I,
stories like that all the time where people just kind of like stumble their way into these great finds. Like a few years ago, there was a dude that was in a barn in Texas and found 2 copies of Action Comics #1.
well, we are friends with Spidey Jew. He did have that like warehouse he got with his brother, or what was it, that lot, and then they ended up
Hmm.
like doing a little trade draft thing.
Man, if you go on my channel, me and his brother actually did the same thing back in December. Like we
Really?
found it. We found a storage locker that had over 6,000 comic books. We spent probably 40 hours just sorting through all of them. And then between three of us, we did the same thing. We did a fantasy football style draft where we took the ones that we wanted and then we sold the rest. And actually, through that experience, what I made from that, I started Valor. Like I started getting everything to become have my own pressing service to be independent, not rely on other people.
So, wow. Like, what kind of books are we talking here? Were these like Bronze Age, Silver Age,
It was
Copper? Talking.
copper. It went from silver to mainly bronze and copper to a little bit of the 90s. Like there's tons of good keys, like a Batman Adventures 12, like the first Harley Quinn, the first Crow. I know I personally came home with 50 books, and my wife was just like, "Where are you about to put all this?"
I think that I also wanted to do this video as an excuse to be like, hey man, so what have you been grading lately?
Well, I've got a stack of books that I'm going to show you. Some you don't see too often.
I'm
But
sure.
oh yeah, um,
Yeah. I can't wait. I'm excited.
because I know me personally, I'm close to having 200 slabs just from CGC.
Does this take up real estate? Let's talk that. Like how you've got little books, you can put them in a long box or you can stack them on your shelves. It's pretty easy. I mean, not stack them like that, but you know what I mean. But
Yeah.
um but yeah, like they're it seems like to me like the more books you got graded, it's kind of like you have to start figuring out in your head like okay, which ones can I move? Am I not too attached to? Because it's starting to take up a lot of space.
Yeah, I have a lot of problems with that because one thing that I've realized about how I've always collected for personal. It's never been necessarily to flip or anything. I've always been chasing to make my collection better. So then, say if I get ready to pilgrimage through my slabs, I'm like, all right, I need to sell some books, right? And I'm like, no, 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 no. Maybe, yeah, yeah, I can. No, 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 no.
He just said, here come the big dogs, he said.
Yeah, but
Yeah, he knows, man. He knows you don't have to even front, man. You have a great PC, but the thing is we're both dads, so
mhm.
there's no harm or there's no I feel like there's nothing wrong with using the hobby to fund the hobby one and also making some money off the hobby when you've probably invested so much time and money and energy into comics your whole life. It's like kind of like, hey, like this is great. The market's on fire for you guys with comics. So I'm very intrigued. I don't have major keys, but I always love to see what other people have
Oh,
and enjoy.
oh yeah, we'll get you there. Like, we can get you there quick. You'll be surprised. One of the good success stories that I've had is I paid for my wife's engagement ring by selling 2 comic books. And this is before the spike of where prices are at.
Believe me, my wife is in here too. She's probably like listening, like, you see, you see.
Yeah, yeah. But
Yeah.
that's whenever you invest in keys, like things that are solid keys, then the value is not going down. Because as this market goes, like say you're into cards, I may know nothing about cards, so we're definitely going to learn from each other. But say you start getting into books and you start getting familiar with these key issues, well, now you have knowledge on what to go for. And it's not like these are getting printed again, especially when you get in the golden age. And I have a whole spill about golden age books. You know, comic books that came out in the 40s, like during the World War II era and everything like
Have you
that.
leveled up to those? Have you leveled up to that in your
Yeah.
collection? Oh,
Oh
look
yeah.
at I love it. I love it. That's great. I
Uh,
always fantasize about those books. Like, oh, one day, I don't care if it's a grade 3, I'm gonna get, like a giant size X-Men, or one of those. And to me, those aren't even golden age. Those are like those silver age, uh, you know, goodies.
one
See,
like
that's
that.
what I'm saying. Yeah, there you go. See, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
that one's
I
a
just found it
7.0.
nice. I'm like creeping in on it. I'm like a stalker. Like a
Yeah.
stalker. Like, oh my god. Yeah, dude. You're gonna send me some pictures too of some
Uh,
of these things too.
oh, for sure. This one you don't see too often, and it's one of my favorites. And this is the first appearance of Groot.
Works of art. Oh yeah, I know that one. I know that one, and I know that Hulk. So I'm glad that I know these covers. I've just
Hmm.
seen enough of them out there, like not out there physically, but just you have them graded and in your collection.
And I also definitely wanted to talk about purple labels with you because purple
Great. Yeah.
labels kind of get frowned upon because what a purple label means is that it's been restored. So with that, that can be anything from trimming the cover. What that is someone has cut all those creases and like say you were talking about where it had spine ticks and issues, where someone
Right.
cut that part of the cover off. So it's kind of like defacing it to make it seem like it was more valuable.
What if it just is missing a chunk? What does that get? Like it's just a bad grade, right?
It can stay a blue label, and it would just say, depending on how big a chunk is missing, then it would just say incomplete, large piece missing. Like several of my books, they're graded at a zero point 0.5 because say the whole back cover's missing, it would just say point 0.5, and up here it would say incomplete, back cover missing. Or say if you have a few pages missing.
I heard with like newsstand products that they had to like they were supposed to return them like after they didn't sell or
Yeah.
whatever, and
Hmm.
and at a certain point in the like 70s or whatever it was, they would just have to they were supposed to like rip the cover and send it back or whatever, and
Yep.
like I didn't realize they were supposed to do that, but a lot of them didn't do that,
No.
so there were a lot of those kind of newsstand ones that weren't supposed to make it.
And that's exactly right. Also, going back to the Golden Age thing, a lot of times they would cut. This is big in Detective Comics, but right through here, where the title of the comic book is, they would cut that part off and send back to the retailer. That way, they could get credit for the comic book that they purchased. So some of the
Oh.
books that are still floating around that you're trying to find, they'll have this top part just completely missing, and most of the
Wow,
time that'll get a point 0.5.
interesting. That's interesting. So the labels you're shooting for, the gold is the one with the autograph. You got an autograph and it was approved or witnessed or
Yes.
yeah. Okay, I got that part. And then the regular ones are green or what are they called?
They're
Or
blue.
they're blue. Blue.
Yeah. So regular is going to be a blue label. So you've got your blue label, you've got a yellow label, you've got purple for restoration. Then you also have green labels. So what a green label is there's a defect that has gone on with the book, but they've graded it at the highest grade it can be. So say if you had a book, say this wasn't verified. If this wasn't verified and Clayton Crane still did his sketch on it, this would be a green label, and
Ouch.
it would just say sketch on front cover and marker. It wouldn't
Oh,
say signed and sketched by Clayton Crane.
so you do not want to get a autograph unless it was you sent it to CGC to get autographed, or
Mm-mm.
you went to a convention and they were there.
Yes. And that's one thing I'm trying to work with Valor is I have a conference call this week with one of the people from CGC because I'm trying to get it to where with Valor I can be a verified certified witness for cons in our area. So say if in like I'm out of Louisiana, so say if there's a convention in Shreveport or Mississippi or Alabama, anywhere that I have a booth, I can also be a verified witness for CGC. So that way if there's someone that wants to get a sketch cover done, we can send it in and make sure they get that yellow label.
That's interesting. That's really cool. That's really good. I mean, that's just another route you can take. So
Hmm.
instead of having to feel like you're restricted to like, okay, I can either choose this lane or go the slow lane.
Yeah,
Wait for a
and
convention and see what signers are going to be there and pay the extra money, all that stuff.
and I've gone that route like as a customer. Whenever before I got married, all I did was go to concerts and conventions. So some of my bigger Marvel keys that had MCU actors at these conventions, I've had MCU actors sign the books. So I had to go through all kinds of crazy waits and getting CGC people to help me out. It's been a struggle.
My goodness. Well, then,
Um,
what else did you want to talk about?
So, the why you would probably want to get books graded to begin with is just the dollar value that gets attached to these labels. Because going back to like I originally said, my perception of near mint may not be the same as yours. So whenever we send these in to get graded and they have that value come back, now you can start pulling up what they call like GPA, like the GPA analysis, where you can find and see what that grade has sold for the past 90 days. So then you can find your average of what it's actually trending worth. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So if I wanted to go and look at the reports and the stats of what is out, like what has been graded, and I look up the book that I'm sending in, and there's like, I don't know, like 500 copies that have been graded, and like only like 25 of them got a 9.8 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, if you're looking at those numbers, is that also part of how they are valuing these books, or is it
That,
more just pure speculation and when it gets hot and knowing basically the right time to move it?
well, what you're referring to is the census. You can have that availability to pull up the census at any time, and you can start finding what's the most common grading books are. So say like I'm real specific. I like books graded in the 7.0. So then I can go look and see and be like, okay, well, 7.0 is a common grade for this book. So I don't have to go pay something ridiculous right now just because it's the only one on eBay or Mercari. I can actually wait it out because at some point another one's going to become available.
Totally,
And
totally.
and then you can also start seeing like how many 9.8s there are in a book. And you can start seeing how many 9.2s and 9.4s. And it's more data that you can always pull as a resource.
So when you're submitting for your like yourself, like you're submitting books, you like certain condition these books are in. What do you do? Do you just choose books? Do you like to choose your favorite for your just PC? How much of it is goes into your thought process of looking into the census and or speculative videos like Comic Tom and other people that are like really in the MCU and talk about all these things and kind of boost book values?
Hmm. That honestly comes down to how patient you are as an individual, because we all have different preferences on what we may want to hurry up and get graded. You could go to a local comic book store on Wednesday and find the newest thing and be like, oh, I can't wait to hurry up and get this graded. Versus there's somebody else who has had books they've been sitting on since they were kids and be like, okay, well, I've had this for 20 years. I love this book. It has meaning to me. I want to get this graded first. So it's all about finding the balance and what's going to satisfy you. Because at the end of the day, this is your collection. It's up to you to decide if you want to keep it forever, hoard it like I did, or just constantly be selling.
It's so freaking true. Everybody has a different situation, their family, their age, their what they're making, all these different things that come into
Hmm.
play. Because for me, I don't want to rush it just because it's my first time. I kind of want to do books I love that I want to kind of display as my art, and also a few that I could, maybe make some of that money back from grading, and like pay for maybe another grading because I actually love the idea of grading, and I think it's really fun and it's kind of addicting because
Hmm.
I'm doing it with cards and I'm doing it with a company that's probably number three of the options out there. And people are like, what are you doing? What are you doing? But I think a lot of people out there have said that to a lot of people that are like trying to trailblaze or do something just a little different. And I don't know. And it's my collection. It's kind of like the beauty of collecting is you can do it your way. And for with me, I wanted to take my time and ask you all these questions because at the end of the day, I want to hook up with you to get some books pressed and graded through your service as my first try because my collection isn't golden age, it isn't silver age, and it's probably not really much bronze or even copper. It's going to be mostly be 90s and modern stuff because
Hmm.
I mean, I'm not that old of a guy, and
Yeah.
I wasn't buying, like, for me, books were always so expensive, the ones that were, like, hard to get as a kid. And cards were always there, the packs at the register. You could always buy single packs, and it was like, whoa, like, you'd look at these art and you'd be like, there were no movies out yet. There was no MCU. There was none of that. You'd have to use your imagination and like the way these artists did these characters like inspired by the comics, but they put their own spin on it. It was just incredible. And
Uh,
I jumped into it and then of course Marvel went bankrupt.
yeah. No, for sure, man. Because I vividly recall being getting like the '95 Fleer X-Men set and being in first grade or kindergarten maybe, and flipping through that and just being enthralled in those cards and the artwork form. And of course, you get the Batman animated series we had growing up and all the X-Men cartoons and everything like that. So like you said, we didn't have the MCU, but we had what we had, and that was a big factor for everything else.
Saturday morning cartoons were huge. If you didn't have to get up for like your morning soccer or football or baseball practice, you were
Hmm.
watching Spider-Man and X-Men and even Silver Surfer, all that stuff,
Oh,
like that was what you were watching for sure. And like that's what we had. For us that was like we didn't have like our kids now they know Spider-Man right away because it's everywhere, you can't
hmm.
not go. And then same with Iron Man. Nobody thought Iron Man would be anything, and now look at what Iron Man is. It's
I'm
like
I
crazy.
was that way. I didn't like Iron Man until I was 20 after several movies had came out, and now I'm looking at an Iron Man comic book in front of me, and then just went and got a giant Iron Man tattoo on my arm over the weekend.
Dude, it's sick, right? It's like now he's one of my favorite. I like cried in Endgame. I was like, I'm a grown man and I'm watching comic book films now, and I'm like crying because it's like not just because of the character I love so much and all the characters, but because it's like, oh my god, they finally did this. Like they finally like made this like what our imaginations could only dream of, into
Right?
reality.
It's satisfying more than anything. Like especially when you've grown up and you've always kind of like been infatuated with everything comic book related. So now that you have these movies and they're putting out big money and effort and everything that they can to give a good product, it's what a time to be alive, you know?
They must laugh because they're like, "Oh, you think we're going to go this way?" And a lot of people predicted Kang. I won't say they didn't, but um, like I love the fact that they will put the spotlight on a character. You'll be like, now I'm like, I love Loki so much. I love all these other characters so much. Scarlet Witch is badass. I mean, I love so many more characters that I never thought I'd like fall in love with so much now because the MCU developed their character arc so well. Like
Right. Look
did
at
a
Guardians of the Galaxy.
who would have thought that would be anything? Like nobody. Like they made it the Star Wars of Marvel, you know,
Mm-hmm.
made it kick ass. Mandalorian kind of feels like a more serious Guardians.
Mm-hmm. Because I remember when Guardians came out, I was like, I'll go see it because it's Marvel, but having no expectation. Then you go in and you see that movie for what it is, and then you leave like holy crap, it's the greatest Marvel movie ever.
It really was my favorite when it came out. After I saw that, I did not think I would love it so much, and I was like, man, I can't wait to like own that and watch it over and over. And I still put on Disney Plus, and I'm like, I'm in the mood for Guardians. I
Yeah.
think I'm gonna put on some Guardians right now. I need to just get my mind off things. Boom,
Well,
you know.
like, I'm always interested in the villain of the story. So, say I enjoyed Ronan, right? Like, I thought Ronan was a great villain, and this is how it works for Spec. As soon as that movie is over with, I was like, oh wow, he was great. Now I'm going to find a copy of Ronan, the first appearance of Ronan comic book.
Cheap, right? Good deals.
Yeah, at that time, not anymore.
Now they're up and they won't go down until well, hopefully not ever.
Yeah.
But let me show you some of my new stuff to kind of old, I guess. But let me show you some stuff because I would do want to send you some books and get an idea of just like you know comics so well. You and Spidey Jew. I really like watching your content, so
Oh, thank you.
I do want to get your opinion on some things. So let me flip this and move this thing up so we can take the charger off. So this one's the X-Men variant Mile High Comics edition. I just like it reminded me of a red PMG. So I was just like
Okay.
I just like the cover, it looks cool. So it was just
Hmm.
something I was like I was glad that I could get it pretty good deal. And then I have this Hawkeye I found at a LCS in um I don't think it's anything special. I just like the cover. I just like the fact that we have a new character that's going to be pretty big in the MCU.
Yeah. Have
Like for sure with the
Have you
new.
seen Black Widow yet?
Oh, I loved it. I loved that film so much. It was great. The beginning was one of the best beginnings I've ever seen in an MCU film. I was just
Really?
like, I loved how it started. And this is Star Wars. I don't have a lot of Star Wars, but I kind of like this cute Star Wars stuff. I don't know why. I kind of like
Man,
the ish stuff.
you would be surprised. I have no Star Wars comics.
Yeah, I don't know. I got this one in a mystery box. I just thought it was awesome. The coolest thing in the mystery box. Everything else was probably like whatever, dollar bin, whatever.
Man, if you want to build up a collection of keys randomly, sometimes mystery boxes are the way to go
Well,
because
that's
you can
why
just end up with a huge assortment of random stuff. But if it's a good one, then there's value in it.
I think I've only gotten one good mystery box, so I've backed off them for a while. I'm not as
Who did
lucky
you?
as you with comics.
I don't think anybody's as lucky as him with anything,
With any, he's blessed. That's what he would always tell me. He's blessed. Sorry,
without question.
out to you, bro. And
All
this,
right, so I would definitely tell you to get that graded just because I want to work on it.
yeah. So this one was like literally the one that like was just kept climbing in price. So I was like, I needed to pull the trigger, or it was just gonna
Hmm.
because like the number one is being spec'd ridiculous. And
Okay, can we talk about? You are very blessed, by
sure,
the
should I
way.
put it up?
Um, on Infamous Iron Man, I do want to talk about that. That book is being spec'd on heavily, and it just drives me nuts that it's not being. That's sweet, Justin.
Oh,
Um, but have you ever, if you've read Infamous Iron Man, or if you haven't, it's worth reading because the story is great. Like Bendis did a great job. If you're not familiar with it, Doctor Doom, you have to go read several other stories to be caught up on it. But Doctor Doom decides that he wants to honor Iron Man after he's passed away, and the best way that he's going to do it is he's going to be a good guy. And he's going to be Iron Man. So Doctor Doom goes, steals some Iron Man armor, and just dresses it up in his style and decides he's going to be a good guy and he's going to go redeem himself. But because it's Doctor Doom, no one believes him. So he goes through this whole huge trial and tribulation to try to make things right. And it's just like you have Iron Man mixed with some Doctor Strange stuff, but it's all Bondu. And
I
it's a
love
great
I
story.
love Doctor Doom in this. I've been reading the digital version, and it's
Hmm.
so good. And that's why I was like, man, no wonder it's just being like. And plus, I got the Legends Tony AI. I like
Yeah,
that. That doll is awesome. I mean, the figure. Sorry.
Man, you
Uh,
can't go wrong with that figure.
and then I have this series is coming out. Like, so I got this book when it's $2, dollar bin status, and now the series is coming out soon. So I'm happy I got it. It's not a Marvel or DC. It's independent. So cool, just cool, kind of personal piece,
That's not Marvel or DC, and it's doing just fine.
right? He doesn't always have to follow that. Sometimes if I just love, like, I love that film and the books. The books were awesome. Like Anne Rice was just straight up like hardcore. And then
Hmm.
this is the one I'm talking about that had a corner fold down here, but otherwise just a nice copy of New Mutants.
Oh
Um,
yes, some Rob Liefeld art.
yes, and that's what Spidey Jew would be like. Did you do you know who did that? And I had to look down at the corner. He's like, "Come on, man." He's like, you know, McFarlane and Layfield did that. So, and then I told you I got Pit one because of Comic Tom.
Hmm.
So there's
See,
Pit
that's a
one.
good one.
So there we go. That's a dope cover. I just always it's like, oh man, I missed out on Spawn, so let me grab Pit.
Hey, Pitt's really cool. They made a giant Build-A-Figure of Pitt, and it's like one of the biggest Build-A-Figures ever. People have repainted it and turned it into Hulk.
And then I have a question for you, bro. What is your advice about polybags? Now, this is
Well,
a polybag Deadpool card in there. Um,
well, well, to get it graded, you got to take it out of the bag.
well, yeah, I know, but like, do you recommend pressing on these or what?
I do. So with a lot of those poly bags, there was never a board in them, so a lot of them got shifted around. So there's a lot of non-color breaking bends within them. So if you decided you wanted to get them graded, then for sure. But because you're more of a card guy than anything, and that one has the card in it, it may have more. Yeah, I wouldn't even get that graded because like everyone knows what that is. You see the Deadpool card in it, it has more value just like that than it does being a graded comic book.
So if I had like the Executioner Song saga, which I've
Hmm.
already gotten all the cards, and I already still have some in polybags though, like those, I don't really feel attached to, but some of those covers are cool. Maybe like down the line, because X-Men keeps going up in spec, that might be a good, just giving examples of polybags. So
Hmm.
polybag ones you might want to press because they leave that indent with the card, right?
That yeah, say Ultimate Fallout 4, Miles Morales' first appearance. That's a polybagged book.
And then this was my other number one Anne Rice that I picked up quickly to look at. I love that wolf cover, Vampire Lestat, number one. Cool.
Yeah, if you want to send those two in to get graded, I would do that just because it's going to be satisfying for you at the end of the day whenever you see those encapsulated, which is the proper word.
Well, when you told me about your recommendation of doing kind of like some personal and then some that you could hold value, I like that. I like that advice. What do you think's a good amount to start off with if you're say not necessarily on a budget, but knowing you're going to go the extra mile, like getting them pressed, like, and you don't know it's your first time, kind of thing, and you know what I mean.
I would probably stick to a small even number, maybe six. That way you can split up with three that you know for sure is going to be PC, then three you're going to try to flip or use it as an upgrade to something else. Because the weird thing about books like getting graded, it can be a random book that doesn't. It's going to be a dollar bin issue, but once it's graded, someone's going to pay for it just because it's a graded book.
Gotcha.
It's weird how that works out. But say also if you want to start, uh, see that's a great one to get graded too.
All right, so I'm
That's
gonna I'm gonna put this in the graded pile.
mm-hmm.
This one's in good condition too, I gotta say. Like, really looks good.
And see that falls under the solid black criteria because the edges of it are all black.
Yeah, the edges luckily don't have much breaking, so that's pretty good. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll put that to the side with my Lestat and Pitt as a possibility. And the New Mutants, I don't know. We're gonna leave that in the maybe.
Yeah.
All right, so let's keep it going. Aren't you excited about the What If animated series?
Oh, beyond words excited for it, man.
I'm
Just
glad to hear that.
like, as soon as I saw the trailer for it, there's a guy I know locally nice. You can't go wrong with having Punisher and Spider Man on the cover of the book.
What do you think about white covers like that with the white background? Is that grayed easily or
It's
hard?
harder because dirt and fingerprints are more likely to show up on that white than the black. With black, like with a black cover, it's easier for dirt to kind of hide into it versus white. It shows up more clearly. And whenever they're grading, they go under it with a black light and some UV lights too. Yeah, I remember you showing me a picture of that. That book is just going to look great in a slab.
I agree. I love it, and the value can only go up on Doctor Strange, especially with the multiverse and
Oh,
everything.
for sure. And I mean, like that's one of those. But one thing that I get satisfaction out of working on people's books is they'll send me book, like say that book for example. I've never seen that cover, but then I get to see it, look at it, and enjoy it, and I'm just like, wow, now I want this book
It's really
because it.
dope. I think you said it was Dormammu, but this is Sorcerer Supreme. It's really sick. I don't know if it's Dormammu or not. It just looks like it could be. It could be either. But
I'm pretty sure it's Dormammu choking them, but
but yeah, it could be. I think you're right. It's probably the way Dormammu looked then in the '80s.
hmm
Yeah, because this one was just a lucky find. Anyway, let's keep it going. So that's in a definite good pile with this one too, because obviously Punisher and Spidey are very awesome. I like this one too coming up. It's not, but it's like a second or third print, but it's still cool. It's like the
oh, it's
first.
a second print. I've actually got one right here that I'm working on for somebody.
Yeah, I like it just because it was the one I could grab. I couldn't get the first. The first was a little too out of my realm.
But because of that, that's a great example of why some of these books are going for higher prices. And a lot of people are starting to switch and go for a second appearance or first cover appearance because the market has been ridiculous and these first appearance books are going for a lot of money that's out of reach for that normal average collector. Like say Cable, if you wanted a high grade of his first appearance, you're looking at spending $300 to $400, and especially when you're on a fixed income budget and everything like that, that's just not feasible. Versus if you can get that second print, which is the same book, just a different cover, for not even half of that, maybe 75% of that, why wouldn't you? It still
Totally,
scratches that itch.
totally. And I actually liked this movie. A lot of people didn't like it, but I kind of did. I don't know why. The New Mutants. I know it wasn't MCU or whatever, but I kind of just liked the fact that they were young. They were kind of young kids. You know what I mean? They really stuck with that, the kids part. You know.
I haven't gotten a chance to see it. I just finished Loki yesterday.
So yeah, it wasn't. It was one of those I watched late at night and kind of it snuck up on me. I didn't. I had just seen it recently too because it was like, what? This has been out? Oh, cool. Let's watch it. It wasn't that bad.
Mm,
Oh, like some of the people really didn't like it, I guess. But I really love Magic. The way they did Magic or Magic, whatever.
oh yeah,
Really cool. Really cool.
she and she's a really cool character too.
She is sick. I want to actually collect more of the women of Marvel in general in terms of trading cards. But yeah, let me bring up
They,
more.
they've got a Legends figure of Magic that is really cool.
Oh, really? I got to see that. Do you have it?
Yeah, I've got it. I'll send you some pictures of it
Yeah,
later.
send
But
me pics later.
She was a Walgreens exclusive, and you can actually get her now that she's been out for a while, fairly cheap.
This is another Spidey Punisher, but it's a little like it's a little. I don't know. The art looks a little weird to me. I don't. I got it cheap, but yeah, I don't know.
It's still cool.
It still looks really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. And then these are the hollow ones. These are just so much like they made so many of those. but as a card guy, I had to grab it. Like, oh man,
There are
all of
some key issues with those hollow covers on it. Like say, thanks, Marvel. Like say, the first Spider-Man 2099. That book has a hologram on the cover of it.
and then this one, I don't remember. I think this came in the random box. I was like, whoa, and uncanny. I'm like, oh, that's awesome. And
Hmm.
Cyclops, cool little Cyclops cover, and the Iron Man 100 right here, and then Iron Man and Ant Man right there. I got an Iron Man and MODOK. I like MODOK. I
MODOK's
love
cool,
the action figure you were talking about. I looked that up. That was sick.
and it's cheap.
And this one got bitten, a piece of the cover bitten out of it right here at the top. Sorry.
Oh no, you're fun.
It was,
Dude, see, if Ragnarok was about to be coming out, that would be a book that you hurry up and get graded because it has Hela on the cover.
good example, right? A good example of like, had Ragnarok just been coming and you saw Hela in the trailer, you'd be like,
Hmm.
okay, I got to rush.
That's why all these Kane books are going for anything with Doom right now. That's actually, I've seen that on a list recently where they were anything with Doctor Doom and Beyonder. It feeds into speculation for the Secret Wars.
Let's put this off to the side just as a maybe pile.
Okay.
I got this because I love Cable One. I like
Okay.
I like how these covers were. You know, they're like those harder stock covers.
Hmm. Yeah,
They're like,
the thicker cardstock.
yeah, I kind of like the. I think they're harder to grade, but I don't know like how that is. But what do you think? These are kind of harder stock covers. Love this.
Now, hologram, like say that Guardians, I'd
Yeah,
have
it's
to
a
look at it, but I don't. Those actually can't be pressed. Like,
right.
and I'll explain that. So if it's a hologram cover or it has an hologram on it, it can't be pressed, and that's due to the heat that's within the press. Like it warps the material, and it can actually make the pages fuse together.
So those are the ones I would just submit straight up to grading if I
Mm-hmm.
wanted it graded.
Like you would wipe, like say if it was at the batch to be graded, then I would just wipe it down with a cotton round to try to make sure any little bit of dirt or fuzz. That's a
And
key issue.
these neither, right? You can't.
Yeah, yeah, those can't be pressed out.
Obviously, I'm dumb.
I think that's a key issue.
Well, this one's got to be. This next one is like my favorite. It's got Gambit and
Oh
Magneto.
yeah, that book was getting. Do you know what book that is? Like
The fatal
what's the key issue about that book?
because they take Wolverine's adamantium. Is that it yet?
That's the issue that Magneto rips out Wolverine's adamantium.
I mean, look at him. He's getting smashed.
Hmm.
He's
That
getting
book,
Magneto
that,
is no joke.
that book in high grades has shot up quite a bit. So definitely put that in your grade stack.
Okay. All right. Yes, because the comic book guy, he was like, oh, shout out to Caldwell's Comics in Gilroy, California. Man, that dude is awesome. David, he was like, oh, you come here every week because he didn't put a price on it, so he was looking it up, and he's like, dude, this one's gone up. It's already at like 30, 35 raw.
Hmm.
So he's like, all right, you're here all the time. I'll give it to you for 20. So really sweet guy.
Oh, that's awesome. And see,
Yeah.
that's what's awesome about building relationships with people. And I told you this a while ago. Like I care more about building a relationship with somebody. That way, you can always you never know what someone's bringing to the table, and you never know how you can help each other, right? So as
I,
everybody grows and continues to keep learning, that's a key issue for Jim Lee.
I love this cover. Psylocke is just so beautiful. I love the X-Men 2, reading that one and seeing her booty. Man, sorry guys, but she's just gorgeous. If my wife's
well,
still in there, I'm very sorry, but she knows. She already knows what time it is. She knows I
well, they
brush off.
changed the costume design for a reason.
Yeah, that one's cool. I like Colossus. Just that's more personal. Colossus and Kitty's relationship I've always liked, and then he left the X-Men. You know, he was like really fed up, and yeah, I don't blame him, especially with what went
Hmm.
down. Avalon, baby, Avalon. And yeah, I like these X-Men covers. There's gonna be a lot of X-Men guys. Sorry.
Hey, that's where the market's at anyway.
Uh,
Spidey Drew just got that book back from grading,
I know. I was
and
a
yours
little.
is a newsstand.
Yeah, I wanted to point down at that and be like, "Hey, man, look." I don't know why this does not have a board behind it. I'm absolutely petrified. Oh my god.
Sometimes I found that's more beneficial. And one of my success stories, remember earlier I was telling you about the storage locker of comic books we found earlier in the year?
Yeah.
Well, there was a issue of Punisher 1 it didn't have a board in it. It was just polybagged. And I thought it had water damage, but I sent it to CGC ice for their pressing service, which is a roll of the dice, by the way. We can talk about that however much you want to, but their pressing service is a genuine roll of the dice on what kind of results you're going to get. Anyway, regardless, that book came back at a 9.8.
Damn. So then there's hope.
Yeah, that book came back at a 9.8. It was not supposed to come back at 9.8, and I instantly flipped it within the next day.
And then this is the least like kind of popular number one covers of the variants or alternate versions that they have.
I,
So yeah, we'll keep going.
I don't know. That's a gangster looking beast, and Hasbro even based their beast off of that design.
It doesn't get enough love. I've been looking it up, and I'm like, what? Why doesn't this cover get? Oh, because there's the Magneto, there's the Wolverine. Okay, and then I'm like, okay, I've always just had this one. I got to keep an eye out for the other ones, just to have. It makes me think like as a card collector, you end up rainbowing, so you're getting like the same character and all these different variants and all, you know. So I'm
Is
like,
that
oh,
is that
now,
what that term means? Like where you're getting the
yeah, we
same card in different color variants?
Yeah, in different rarities, and different, not just in the base, not just in the chase, not just in the like PMGs or whatever else is in the set. We're crazy. We're sick. We're just sick people that have to have like the same thing over and over. Spidey had the gold foiling.
Is that one the gold one?
He had the gold one. I have this is the silver or regular. I don't know.
Uh,
This one isn't the gold one though. It's
it,
just
it,
because of the lighting. The lighting in here makes it look kind of like
I gotcha. Put that in the grade stack.
okay.
That's one of the most graded comic books of all time. But I've also done a video on like where to start, and that's definitely one of your issues to start your graded collection with.
And then I like this series. I'm trying to find the rest of the blood ties. I like I like them. Just kind of a more PC thing.
Okay.
And then the Marvel Tales. This
So
one's cool.
we're with buying comic books, Marvel Tales will trick you because they're reprints of other issues. Like they'll kind of put a fresher splash of color on it, and it'll just be a reprint of a more classic issue. And it's really easy to get them lined up if you don't pay attention to the Marvel Tales part.
Yeah, yes. I learned that after the fact. Totally good advice. Yep. And then here's perceptions. I like the perceptions, but this is not my favorite of the perceptions. I have the other one that is
Yeah,
my.
but it's a Todd McFarlane cover of Wolverine and Spider Man.
Should I put it in the maybe or
Well, as a fan, how are you
well,
with Todd McFarlane?
I love the brown suit Wolvie, and I love obviously McFarlane stuff. So that's why I keep an eye out for Jim Lee and McFarlane goodness,
You
as
can
Spidey Jew
you
would say.
based on our conversation, I would put that book to the side because it seems like you have more excitement out of Jim Lee.
Yes,
So for the first,
Jim Lee. I love Jim Lee the most.
I would definitely focus on Jim Lee on your first batch and then come back from McFarlane later, except with the exception of that Spider Man.
Got it. With the the Spider-Man one, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and then we're almost done, guys. We're gotten through most of it. We're almost done. All right, and then Cyclops. Cool. I like Cyclops. I think he's underrated compared to a lot of the universe because they made him. They didn't do a good job on the films with him. And then Gambit, always cool. All right, here's a Secret Wars. Pink.
That's a nice one to have.
Yeah, I like knowing that this kind of stuff is coming out, or we're gonna get to it at least one day.
Mm-hmm.
And then this is cool. I love the Hollows and the 30th anniversary. I didn't get the black. I forgot what number it is. The black one with the
It's
the one
365.
right.
Yeah.
You know. I'm like such a rookie. Remember, guys, I'm the beginner asking the questions. That's why I'm here. Like with my boy, he's gonna give me. He's gonna save me.
All right, that's first cameo appearance of X-23.
Well, then that's a big thing.
Yeah, she's in a test tube, but it's one to
Geez,
get.
she's not like she's no longer in his huevos.
Yeah.
Poor Wolverine.
Did
He's been
did you know that?
about yeah. I mean, I
Oh,
know
about that
I know
issue?
like enough to get by. Like I'm not in your realm yet, but I aspire to be. So I
Hey,
love that you're dropping knowledge. Please
you, you
just school me.
you don't ever compare your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. It took me forever to learn that.
Oh no, I'm not. I just enjoy. I'm just part of the ride. I'll get to chapter 2, and you guys will be at chapter 40, but I'll still be happy. This was just cool. I just like kind of this noir look.
Well, I think that storyline starts going to where Scarlet Witch started getting all evil.
That's what I
Evil
thought.
Witch.
I'm like that. I figured it was the point where she kind of gets out of hand, right? I mean, she
Hmm.
almost kills all the mutants herself.
Yeah. Hey,
She's
are you?
so
Oh man, House of M is such a good storyline.
she's so freaking powerful. She's out of control. I like this. What if? It's like such a like on the cover of it's a
Hmm.
classic cover, like the actual them getting married.
See, and like because where me and my wife currently live, we're in the process of getting a new house and everything. I have comic
Congrats.
stuff like, oh, thank you very much. I have comic stuff scattered like within arm's reach. Is almost like my work desk, and I can just grab a few more slabs to show you.
Dude, yeah, if you can. Or if you need to get up, go for it, man. I haven't given you a break.
I've already
We've
gotten it. It's
already been
fine.
on probably more than an hour,
You're
but we're
fine.
almost done.
So, some things I get for PC just because, and it's the first appearance of the Silver Banshee.
So you get PC because of what you said? I
I
missed it.
I like villains, and the way the cover of this one goes, I can display it in our house around Halloween.
Oh, dope. Yes.
So I actually got on the same day I ordered this one, then I also picked up this Spawn just to display in our house come Halloween.
Oh my God. That is sick. That is so awesome. That is so cool. Oh man. You have some art, man. You have some really cool art.
Oh, thank you.
Look, check this out. I like that one too.
Oh, nice.
Like him fighting the suit. I guess
Hmm.
with the bell, like using the bell to get it off him. Uh, oh yeah, this is my favorite one of the McFarlane. The Wendigo with
Oh
Wolverine.
yeah, I love how he drew that character. Like he made the cool thing about McFarlane with characters he enjoys drawing. He always like makes their proportions way overdone, and he likes to make characters larger than life.
I just like how they're coming out of the darkness, trying to run away from Wendigo.
Hmm.
They're like, "Oh shit!" And then we got this is a cool looking one. Classic. Classic Spidey. That's a cool one too. More perceptions.
Yeah.
And last stack, guys. Last stack. Thanks for hanging in there. Whoever made it. Two people. They can watch it on the channel later. Oh, that's sick.
That's a sweet cover.
I like that. It's creepy. It's so creepy. My goodness. Spidey Wolverine. That's like you were telling me. Watch out for those Marvel tails. Be careful. Here we go. This one's like they're pawns on a chessboard.
Oh, that's cool.
It's a cool uncanny. I saw it. I was like, I've never seen that one. Gotta have it. Cool Avengers. Obviously, not the favorite crew, but still, like people, an underrated cover. Secret Wars.
Oh
2.
man, I pulled this one up and talking about green labels. This is a good example. So here you have Spider-Man 238 as the first appearance of the Hobgoblin, right?
Right.
Well, say if you go into a comic book shop and you see this book that's raw in a bag and board on the shelf, and they have a price tag of like $150. Well, then you see it and you see that's the first Hobgoblin, and you just say, "Oh, I'm going to get that." You don't think about it. Well, this issue in particular came with something called tattoos, which was like a little promo giveaway that they did, where it had little temporary tattoos inside of the book. Well, if those tattoos were removed, then whenever you send this in to get graded, it would be a green label. So you would get a green label, and it would say tattoos missing.
So how long did they do that for in books?
Put little
They did
promotional
stamps,
things.
right? They did stamps for a long time. Like if you
Yeah,
took the
they had.
book, it would give you that label.
That's
I
exactly
think
right.
I see, dude. I'm learning. I'm trying to do my
Yeah.
research.
Like this has a Marvel value stamp in it, and if the value stamp was missing out of this book, then and it's crazy how something so small affects the value. So say like this is a Hulk 181 blue label in the 7.0. Let's just put it's like around $6,000. Let's just say. Well, if it was if it was a green label, it would be maybe 1,800 to 2,000.
Dude, you're getting me choked up with these prices. You're like, oh my god, why have I not been grading comics? Oh Lord. Okay, so look at the last stack. Oh, this was another Iron Man. I didn't. It slipped through, but it's cool. I like these infamous covers. Really cool.
Oh yeah.
Really interesting art.
I'm a really big fan of that storyline. It's like 14 issues, but it's all
This is
great content.
My favorite cover.
And definitely send that one to get graded.
This one?
Yeah.
This one is absolutely killer, right? Doom taking on his
Yeah.
armor.
Yeah.
This is what you were talking about. This is what you were like, dude, like this is where Doom like
Yeah, he's wearing his own Iron Man suit, but then he's also being his own little Sorcerer Supreme.
really cool book. So yeah, let's put that to the side right there, infamous. All right. And then I have another X-Force one that we can get graded because I love it. So we don't have to open the Daredevil. This is from a non-Daredevil pack. So
And like one thing that I enjoy about slabs, like say you're married, so you can do this. Like you can be like, "Hey, honey, like I want to show you this book," and then they look at it like, "Well, what am I looking at?" Well, then over in the top corner, it'll say what's significant or what's important about it. So it'd be like, "Oh, well, first appearance of, X-Force or Doctor Doom," So it tells anybody who can read like what's going on with it. They don't have to. There's no explanation.
I love that about the labels too.
Mm-hmm.
And last few books. All right, here's a cool Hulk. This was from a mystery box. I like the gray, like just kind of like, just cool Jekyll and Hyde kind of cover.
Man, I'm not trying to plug them, but there's a mystery box called Unboxed Heroes. They put out really good mystery boxes, and they're like $30 a month.
Hell yeah, dude. Well then, can you send me a link?
Yeah, for sure.
Look at this one. This one's the one I also really like for PC. The number two with Magneto. Oh,
Hmm.
love how they all look like they've just been smashed.
Man, I was on a stat. Are you familiar with Jim Mint on YouTube?
Yeah, yeah, of course. He does like the
Uh,
statues and the big books, right? What are those called? Those uh,
Omnibus.
omnibus. Ugh, I hate that word. Weird
Omnibus
word.
is pretty cool. It is weird, but like those are really cool, and like I can do a whole video talking about how some books are better to just buy as an omnibus than buying a graded copy of it.
They're great, right? They are. Look, they make your collection look cool because it's like, hey, I have the whole series that I can just read like a book, and I never have to take out my comic.
Hmm.
Punisher. This is one of the Punishers that was on a trading card. They took them directly from this cover. So I was always like,
Really?
yeah, like
What trading card was it?
I forget which masterpieces it is, or I know it's like they basically the artist did it a little bit, added a little bit of a difference, but it's the same facial expression, the same card, and I think they had to stop doing it because of the guns, the whole guns thing.
Hmm.
Uh, so it was one of those things. But now Domino's back pointing guns at everyone in her cards, so
Yeah.
hopefully the Punisher be all like gadded up again, like he should be.
What
Uh,
issue number is that?
this one's number 5, but this was just like the limited series because they were testing him out. They didn't
Yeah.
know they didn't know if he was gonna pop, but I thought it was a
Uh,
cool color
my
cover.
issue my issue number one of that series is what came back at 9.8.
Ah, well, see, you have the probably the better one. This Sabretooth, that was just for
Oh,
people.
I remember having that book. Like I
So
remember
nice.
seeing it. Yeah, I remember seeing that one like as a teenager and almost throwing a fit. Like I have to have that book.
So cool. That's why I was like, oh, it's $3. Let me grab it.
Hmm.
Um, there we go. Wolverine.
See, that one would look cool slabbed.
This one definitely, but the thing is I don't know if it's this book because I have a different Wolverine that had maybe no. This one's a good one. Yeah, this one's in pretty good condition. Like I think there was like one that had a noticeable like stain. I had,
Okay,
but this one's I picked out the good one. Good. I had two, and I was like, oh, good. I'm glad I found another because I was like,
man,
oh,
I've I've been starting to dabble with stain removal.
really? How has that been
Hmm.
working?
So far, it's worked pretty impressively. Um,
So let's do an over.
on this Instagram for Valor, you can actually see. I think I posted it yesterday, the before and after on it.
Let's do a quick overview because I know we have a good stack now. It's way more than 6, and I'm happy with
Yeah.
that. That means we're in good shape because you can kind of help me out. Maybe I can send them all to you too, and you can really recommend at the end which ones should be pressed, which ones you think should at the end go through. You know?
On that topic, do you want me to talk about why it's important to pressure books?
Yes, please. We
Okay.
all need to be schooled here. Like even if there's only 2 people in here,
Okay.
because
So
more
say with
people are
this
watching our videos on YouTube.
so with this book, right, that we just got back from the Crane signing, my copy came back at 9.6, right?
Right.
So before the Crane signing, I had this book already slabbed
Uh huh.
and it was a 9.0.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
So
Like
then, so
several
then,
years ago, I bought this book. I bought it already slabbed for like $30, and I was looking at it through the case, and I thought, hey, I can fix this. So then I cracked it, did my thing with it, then submitted it directly to CGC for the signing, and it came back a 9.6. So I
whoa,
had a 3 whole grade bump doing that.
whoa. So what's the highest you've jumped?
So far, that's my most successful proven grade bump through my press. Now I've had some phenomenal results, but these are on raw books, not books that have been graded before.
What? Dang, man. So then I'm excited because this could literally help me jump. potentially with a couple books if you feel like there could be the benefit of pressing, like on them.
Hmm.
Oh
And
man.
there'll be some people that'll swear up and down like, hey, you always want to press your books no matter what before you send them graded, which it's a valid point. But some books aren't necessary. Look at Spidey Jew, like on the mail call he just received. He had a ton of books come back in 9.8, and those weren't pressed.
A
You
lot
know.
of he had like way over nines on a bunch of books, like, and
Hmm.
he just like it was like, oh, I just grabbed this from the shelf and just put submit it.
Hmm.
Oh man,
One of his Spawn books came back in a 9.8, and I was super happy for him because it was like solid white. It had Spawn as Santa. I would have never thought that would have came back at 9.8. And this is like my job, you know?
you saw the reveal, so you like were like, oh my god, how did that get a 9.8? Oh man, so the white ones are tough. I'm glad I haven't touched them. Like whatever was touched was the other peeps, that owned them
Hmm.
before me. I'm just
Hmm.
like, the white ones at least. The white ones I've been scared because I know like, how easily like we carry so much dirt on our hands. Even when we wash them, it's easy to leave smudges and stuff. Yeah. Well, dude, this is the kind of recap, and obviously I'll send you some pics and stuff. But I want to. Then we'll just finish up because I know it's getting late over there. It's Wolverine that we have as in our like maybe to grade.
Hmm.
Obviously, this is a big time one. This one I just put in the maybe because you said do it, and this
Yeah.
one you said yes for sure.
Hmm.
Obviously, I love Jim Lee, and you said Spidey got this graded, so that's a good sign.
I
Same
mean,
here.
I have that book too, so if it makes you feel any better.
No, it's just reassuring to know like kind of what other collectors are at with their X-Men because I love the X-Men, and for me that's a big deal. So, and this one too is just kind of like we'll just kind of send it and give it a go.
Hmm.
That's cool. So we'll put these to the side. These are all really good candidates. This one too, because you said of the spec
Yeah.
possibilities, because you saw it on a channel. This one you said is just great to have Spidey and Punisher, and I agree. And it's white, so it could benefit from a pressing. Possibly is a good pressing candidate. We got a cool Doctor Strange one. Awesome. This one could be a possible pressing candidate. We'll see. You'll be able to look when you get your eyes on it.
Now,
Uh,
with these books, have you taken them out of the bag and looked at any of the back of them?
yeah, yeah. So most of them, most all of these that I've shown you, I've taken them out.
Okay.
Um, and if I
'Cause
find anything else, obviously, then that would be an issue, right?
Well, you would just be shocked at how many collectors will buy books like bag boarded, ready to go, and never take it out to look at the back.
Oh yeah, no, I do take it out before I buy. That's for sure because
Hmm.
I like to see how it looks and feels.
I mean, I'm at fault too. Like, there's been a ton of books that I've just bought because I wanted the book, thinking like, oh well, it looks great on the front, and this has to be a high grade. Then I'll take it out of the bag and board and flip it over and be like, this isn't the same book.
Like this one, I don't remember ever checking the back, so that would be interesting
Hmm.
to check.
And then you'd be surprised. There's a thing called color rub, and what color rub is I can use this as an example. Say with the CGC book, it's a bag and board. Like say this is the board and everything you put in your bag into it. But whenever you put your comic into the sleeve like this, on the back where the staples are, it creates friction against the board. So whenever it does that, it'll do something called staple rub or color rub. It'll do color rub because you're literally rubbing some of the color off because of the friction of it always rubbing against the board.
All right, well that's a great tip to know. So I'm gonna double check my books thoroughly. Obviously, a good tip for first timers is to watch some videos on shipping, making sure that they're knowing how to properly do it. I know CGC sells kits to do it when you want to submit to them. What is
They
your
do.
on it.
You can do it's whatever makes you feel comfortable. I've seen weird things involving shipping, like some people buy a whole giant roll of bubble wrap just to ship books in. It's not necessary as long as you have a few layers of cardboard and masking tape. You should be good to go. Say you would just get a piece of cardboard, lay it flat, put your book on top of it, then get strips of masking tape and block it up. And you just block it off. You want to make sure you block off the edges on your corners. And mainly, you just want to put an extra layer across the spine for an added layer of protection. And that's all you need.
So you're taping it up between two pieces of cardboard that are bigger than the book to keep the book secure, and you're
Hmm.
making sure you cover up the edges so it can't slip out
Yeah.
on every side, right?
And it's just less likely for it to be bent that way.
Okay, that too.
Unless they're in shipping, they're intentionally trying to do that. You're less likely to have any kind of encounters that way. And
So
then with
you
it being taped on the cardboard, it's not flopping around inside the box.
gotcha. Good tips, man. I think then I'm all set. So then all I got to do next is just start working on putting the order together, shipping it out, and then once it arrives to you, you're gonna let me know the details of what your opinions are and all that. That's kind of how you roll, or what's the way you
Yep.
prefer to operate?
So, like I've said before, I care more about establishing relationships with people. I want to talk to you for a few minutes, try to figure out what books we're working with, try to see what you're trying to do. Is these all for PC? Is it for you to just flip? That way, I have a better mindset going into it of what the expectation is going to be. Because if you don't care and you're just trying to hurry up and flip, it's like, okay, cool. Well, let me take care of you the best that I can. But when doing that, it doesn't create any kind of movement for me to communicate with you because I've encountered people like that where they're just like, just send these off. I don't want to talk. I want money. Like, me too, buddy. So let's go.
Well, I like hanging out with you, man, and I hope that we get to do more chats like these, and I can keep seeing some of the stuff you're grading. I want to see more of your content too, because obviously you're a dope collector, man. You got an
Oh,
awesome collection. I was like shocked when Spidey um, put that video, and you were just bringing up all these different books that I'm like, oh my god, he has that one too. He has that one too.
mm-hmm.
So it's just really cool to be part of the community with other collectors and meet new people. For me, that's the best thing in the card collecting game that's worked for me is like in terms of establishing not only relationships, but a lot of times when you don't have a lot of money for a certain month or you pushed a lot of it on a certain thing and you can't really you're stuck, but hey, you have all this stuff. Trading is the best, when you can trade with people, it's
Yep.
awesome. And especially with cards, they're called trading cards. So I completely believe in that, and I think it's great to have other people that know your interests in the collecting community because they look out for each other. They're like, oh, I saw this and I went and
Mm-hmm.
grabbed it and I got it at this price. Here, I'll sell it to you for the same plus shipping. It's really cool to meet
Well,
people like that.
and like even though I'm not an active member of that community, to me it's always cool to see like the relationships you guys establish and how people are trying to help each other. Like there's a natural sense of community within that community. Versus, to be honest with you, some comic collectors and groups they're toxic. Like if your book's not a specific grade, or if you're excited about a book because it means something to you, but it's not on the top 10 list, people are rude and they'll like belittle you for no reason.
I
So
think I
that's
think also there's a lot of like the comics as the comic world heated up. I think
hmm
there becomes that FOMO is to the next level. So you have a lot of jealous people out there, a lot of envy, a lot of people are mad because someone else got a grade they didn't get. I can see that happening little by little in the card community, and I always say, hey, I think there's more good people than bad in the community, so I try to always stick with that. But I worry about the community once it becomes all money, 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 money. But like if you don't have fun in it and there's no passion in it, what's the point, right? Because at the end of the day, this is beautiful artwork we're putting up. We're not just throwing up players that shot a 3-pointer really well. And like
Mm.
I don't collect sports cards. I collect art. I feel like I collect art, and they put me in this non-sport category, and I'm like, well, we don't really collect non-sport. We collect Marvel. Marvel's this beautiful art of our time that is just like so special because I don't know, like at the end of the day, Jim Lee to me is going to be my Van Gogh, like
Uh, talk to Spidey on that because he's got some amazing comparisons like that. Because it's true. I mean, like the modern artists of our time who are getting major recognition, they're not really out there in museums or anything. They're publishing work and putting it into print form.
yeah, I mean, like Peach Momoko became huge in comics, but she got her break in cards. Like cards are kind of this big break for artists to jump in, and I think you're going to see more and more great artists come through the card world first, and then make their break into comics once their art is like really like whoa, like this, look at like Ash Gonzalez and all these others. But then you have Fred Ian, you have amazing artists out there that are doing these incredible sets and then graduate to comics and stuff, and it's incredible. Like so now you're seeing these works of art in modern comics going through for a lot of money, and I'm like, whoa, like this is really cool to see. Like you can jump, like as an artist you can like kind of make your way up the ladder because they don't get paid that much in trading cards. The artists really, they struggle. Like the work they get, a lot of times they're not getting, unless they have already established themselves in their portfolio. It's really hard for artists out there, and a lot of them have like my kind of name. Like I have a Latino last name, and like I'm noticing there's such a diverse world that grew up on Marvel. Like the whole world grew up on Marvel, so it's like everywhere in the world it's popular to a degree. So I don't want to just do comics. I want to do toys. I want to do cards to my extent, to my
Hmm.
limits. Obviously, I
Yeah.
can't buy it all. I can't have it all, but I want to have a piece of it all while I can afford to get it. And I feel like eventually, even raw books are going to be really expensive. And you're seeing that with cards. Raw
Hmm.
cards in Marvel are limited print runs. We're talking $300 a box, and that's like a mid-level set. Like anything that comes out Marvel, they don't release it like in the high runs they used to in the 90s. This stuff is released and it's limited. And it's like, it just, there's price jacks, it's gambling because you're opening packs, you don't know what you're going to get. And literally you could get a box with nobodies. So it's
Hmm.
like, it's really a rough hobby. So I think the beauty of comics is it's like, kind of what you're getting because the book is right there in front of you and you see the cover and you can open it. For the most part they're not in bags and boards like the new stuff, so it's just
So,
a bit.
what do you think about like how it was with the 2020 Marvel Masterpieces, where you could go on a website and buy e-packs? Like, do you think that's more beneficial as opposed to having to order them from a retailer or going out and trying to find a box and
it's
purchasing it that way?
it's just not like it used to be, like when we were kids. Like a lot of comic shops, they're hard to find, they're few and far between, and the places that used to sell them used to be everywhere. You could go to the grocery store and get comics, you could go to the grocery store and get cards, but now it's
Hmm.
like any newsstand sold comics. But now it's like, what's a newsstand to kids? Everything's, the newspapers are dead, so like print world is just changed a lot. And I've noticed it with the newer sets, the quality control hasn't been as good. I think when they make less print run, they can keep it contained. But when they did this latest Marvel Ages and Marvel Metal, it was a mess. Like some of these cards, they feel rough. Like
Hmm.
it was really like just like not done in a way that is just acceptable. And with COVID, I knew they had excuses. I knew a lot was going down, but at this point, the card world is definitely at a point where Marvel is so popular, where people from sports and Pokemon are jumping into Marvel. Like right now, they're speculating on PMGs, all these rare sets that they know in the sports card world have translated to Marvel, and they can't get a Michael Jordan PMG anymore because that's a $300,000 card. So
What
what
is
they're
a
doing,
PMG?
PMG is a precious metal gem. So it's this. I think I have one right out here. They're like these foiled cards that are really tough to grade, but they're hard numbered and they're rare. So they're like they have this feel to them of like, okay, this is out of 100, so there's only 100 red PMGs that exist. So it's like these cards are becoming like speculated on by the sports market, by not just Pokemon, but people that are in every kind of thing. People into comics are starting to trickle into Marvel cards because they're realizing, hey, it's cheap right now. I can get in on this while it's like affordable, and there's a dip in trading cards in general. So now I'm seeing all these people bidding on stuff, and I'm getting priced out. So I'm like, I'm kind of getting more into grading what I have, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
wanting to grade my comics because I feel like, well, at least this can keep me kind of liquid. Because I've noticed that Spidey Jew does really well with that too, grading comics and, keeping his hobby going. Because let's face it, you can't just buy hundreds and hundreds of figures and comics with your bank account. You're going to
Yeah,
lose your family and your house. You
yeah.
got to find a way to fund it. So it's like people are definitely noticing. Here's a red PMG of Kitty Pryde, one of the characters I told you I like. So this one right here, this is from the
Oh, that's cool.
2017 set, and
Okay,
these are cards that have like a hard numbering on the back, and they like you can kind of see it right there.
I see it. Yeah.
Yeah. So the green ones, there's only 10 of them. The blue ones, there's 50. The red ones, there's 100, and the bronze, there's 199. So like out of all of that, like you rainbow like those colors. So people try to get the green, like, and if they get one green, they try to get that color every other color, that character every other color. So it's like it becomes an obsession, and a lot of sports people that got the Michael Jordan ones, they made their money big time. So now they're looking at where are their PMGs, where are their famous characters. So you're seeing people buy into Spider-Man. Our boy Spidey Jew has the gold one of one.
Yeah. Yeah.
So he's got something that's super rare, super, like he said, a holy grail
Mm-hmm.
of Marvel cards. And right now, yeah, maybe he had to get it for a certain price, but it's only going to go up in value. Only.
Yeah.
Like, it's really a good investment, even if it's in his forever collection. He has it because what's really his forever collection is his family, just like it would be for me. So if something came up, you always have it.
Yeah. It's like this is mine with comics.
Exactly. See, that right there is like, there you go. Your house. If anything happens to your house,
Mm-hmm.
well, gonna have to grab my Hulk.
Yeah, exactly. Like every all the comics I have, they're for my son, but this one I'll probably get buried with.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's got to be a few, right, that you take with you.
Yeah, that one's number one. Did I tell you? I shared with you my story about that book, didn't I? My
I
Hulk
believe
one.
you did. I believe you shared it on one of the videos, but I don't.
Yeah. So with this Hulk one, you know, this is back almost 5 years ago when prices were not what they were. So I found this book from a seller out of Florida, and he was willing to do payment plans, which a lot of people, they're real strict. They don't offer payment plans on anything, but this seller did. So I started doing a payment plan on it. And at that point in time, I was taking care of my dad, so it was just me and my dad. And he would ask me like what I was doing, and I was like, I'm putting payments on a comic book. He's like, that's stupid. Like, why would you do that? It's a comic book. Like, well, I want it, so don't worry about it. Well, then time progressed, and eventually my dad was just like, "Hey, are you still trying to buy that comic book?" I'm like, "Yeah." He's like, "Okay, well, fine. How much do you have left?" I told him. So then he started matching my payments with me. So I was
Oh,
able to get it a little bit sooner. Well, eventually, like whenever I actually got this book paid off and I was able to get it, my dad ended up passing away like just 2 weeks later.
oh man, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's part of it, man. But because of it, like I was able to get this. Hulk's like one of my favorite characters ever, so it has like this super sentimental meaning to me.
Dude, part of your dad is in that book with you, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly. Like I've got a personal
There's
thing
more,
with it.
so some things you just can't put a price on, you know, and I
Hmm.
guess I'll learn that too as a collector because, you know, I'm a young collector in terms of like I loved it as a kid and now I'm jumping back in kind of thing. So like for me, my big moment was when I got like some of my first cards back and cards I really love. So I was just like, oh man. And I got tens. So I was just
Yeah,
like, oh, like so happy. And I'm just like thinking to myself, yeah, I'm going to use these to help, you know, one day, you know, pay for more things or help for my kids or whatever they need. And I'm just like, hell no, I don't want to get rid of them.
exactly.
They're my
Well, if you ever,
first like babies that I had as a kid, and some of them that I just made sure like I so scrutinized to grade. I had to ignore grading a Wolverine to grade this other, and now it means so much because now I have a full like tens of a certain character, you know, and it feels good.
how
Yeah.
hard is it to get a 10 on on a card?
Well, I've done 8 submissions, so I'm still new, I guess, compared to other card graders.
Hmm.
Um, but still, 8 submissions is still pretty good. And I've done so. I have probably 40 to 50 slabbed cards, and out of that, I guess my gem rate would be so I have like eight tens, and with SGC it's different. They don't like PSA has a 9 and then a 10, so the 9 is kind of like very close to the gem mint. It's the near
Okay.
mint kind of status. And with SGC, they have 9, 9.5, and then they have a 10, and then they have a 10 pristine. So the 10 gem mint and the 10 pristine is super rare. I've never gotten one of those. They put a gold label and it has like a different little like abbreviation PRI next to the 10. But the 10 gem mints are still really difficult to get. And like on the 90s X-Men and Spider-Man cards, any of the Marvel cards from the 90s, most of them
Hmm.
now if you get packs, a lot of those sets brick. They leave like edging damage. They have soft corners. They kind of live, and when I say brick, they leave like a residue of the wax or of the
Okay.
gloss, of the glossiness on the surface, kind of
Hmm.
leaves that like impression onto the next card. So it kind of leaves a
Okay.
white mark. So it's basically not a good. You're going to get a bad grade if you submit a card like that. So like the more and more time that goes by, the harder and harder it is to gonna get to be tens. And also SGC, like PSA, they are really strict with centering. And I think SGC is way more strict than PSA at centering. So like if your card isn't well centered, if it seems off to the naked eye, don't even bother submitting it because you're probably going to get an 8 or like a 9 because 9 tops because then everything else has to be perfect, the corners, the edging, and the surface. The centering is really important with SGC, and I think with Beckett is one of the things I like about their slabs. I have one of their slabs over here somewhere, but right here is the SGC geode I got a 9 on, and this
Okay.
product, this one is like really hard to grade these cards because the quality control was just not the best on these set. So I'm really
Okay.
happy with nines. For me, nines on the bad quality control set is a good deal. And then also because upper deck will give you a congratulations. This was a signed autograph Fred Ian card. You can kind of see the gold auto.
Hmm.
So they have an authorized upper deck person that says, yeah, we witnessed this. So it allows the grading companies to be able to give you the auto grade.
Oh,
So you'll
that's really
see.
cool.
So you get a grade for your autograph and a grade for the card. So on this is like this blink is signed by the artist and it's hard numbered out of 99 out of 50 because it's signed by the artist. The artist only signed 50 of these and
Okay.
it has a 9. And just kind of an example. And then these are kind of how they look in tens. Um, some of the 90s cards that I got in tens. So this is one Spider-Man.
Okay.
And this was the Flair 1994 set. So this is actually just the base card of Spider-Man, but it's a 10, so that's really good. And this is a really classic one. They redid these cards as buybacks, so they hard numbered them in the 2000, I think 19
Hmm.
year. But this is are from when we were kids. This is in the
Yeah.
19. This is the 94 Fleer Ultra Spider-Man versus.
Okay.
Cool battle card, and this is one of my favorite Magneto cards.
Oh, that's nice.
I love Magneto, so getting a 10 on him is important. Can put
Oh,
that by
for
my
sure.
Magneto graded comic. That's
Yeah.
why I'm rooting for CGC. My gut is that's why I'm practicing with SGC is that CGC is going to grade Marvel soon. I believe it. Marvel cards.
I don't see why they wouldn't. They're starting to grade video games now, so eventually.
Have you ever seen Doctor Doom at a kid's birthday party? This is the weirdest card I've ever seen, and I had to get
Yeah,
graded. I laughed so hard at this card.
that
So
is
this is a
weird.
So it's a 1995 Marvel Medal. It's called the alternate mutant series card. So I guess it's like alternate realities. So what if Doctor Doom was a birthday party guy? I don't know. What if he was cool? What if he was a good guy kind of thing? So kind of
Yeah.
like infamous Iron Man. They were thinking about, well, let's do a what if with him. And then here's a thing metal card 10. And the last ones here. Oh, this is the one I want to show you. The Beckett breaks it down. They give
Okay.
you they give you the corners. So they'll show you like this got a 9.5 in centering, in edges, and it'll break down what it got. So Beckett's 10s are basically a 9.5. They don't give
Okay.
many 10s out at all. But their 9.5s are basically like it's like the CGC 9.8 pretty much.
Okay.
It's you're not getting you might get a 9.9 sometimes, but
Hmm.
really rare, right, to see those.
Yeah.
And then the Captain America 10, and this is one of my favorites just because it kind of looks like those red PMGs, the
Yeah.
Wolverine. Cool, just kind of like I wanted to get a feel for grading. So I'd say out of like, I don't know, I haven't counted my official slab count. I've got a whole bunch of 9.5s, a whole bunch of 10s, a whole bunch of 9s, and a very few 8.5s. And the
Okay.
lowest grade I got was 1.8. But I did it
Okay.
with like a hologram style cards, and usually those are like kind of a coin flip. And I wanted to try one. So it was like, it's kind of like you roll the dice with one of your comics that you put in that you feel like, oh, I really want this graded for the PC, and it might
Hmm.
get a 9. You never know.
Yeah. Yeah. I've done that a bunch.
That's why I'm so fascinated when I see you guys do reveals. I always get
Hmm.
excited, like, man, I really want to do that with my books. So I'm glad I'm starting this process out with you, man. I really appreciate, you know, you taking the time with me.
Oh, for sure, man. I want to get you taken care of. And because it's like Christmas, it's like whenever you do these and you get your books back finally, it's like Christmas, especially if you can have the discipline to not find out what the grades are whenever they're done and they're being mailed back to you. If you can just wait until they arrive and then you don't know what you're getting, it's awesome. Especially when it goes like your way. On my YouTube channel, there's like how you have intro videos and stuff like that. Well, in my intro video, it's like a genuine reaction where I did that. Like I had a CGC mail call and I didn't know the grades, and one of them came back at 9.8, and I'm actually cussing at that point in time, but music's going over it.
I like your Metallica, bro. I love it.
Oh, thank you, thank
Yeah.
you.
I won't put it on too much blast, so they don't say anything.
Yeah.
It's like, man, I love that stuff too. I like collecting some records, so every now and again I go to the record shop too. And I
Hmm.
found Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning on vinyl. I had to get it. I was like, oh man,
Oh yeah.
classic.
Hmm.
But thanks again so much for doing this with me. I'm gonna send you the stuff soon. I'm gonna take my vacation first,
Oh
uh,
yeah.
and then I'm gonna prep the shipping for you, and we're gonna keep talking. Obviously, you know that.
Oh, for sure, man.
Yeah, yeah. I want to send you more pics of cool cards because I want to get you into it. I want to bring you into the whole because then one day you're gonna be like, I'm glad you brought me in.
Yeah.
While it was still cheap.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to it, man.
Yeah, man. Well, thanks again. And yeah, dude, you guys know how to find. You go to. Well, what's your actual channel? Why don't you hype your channel better than me?
All right, I'll put it down here in the comments too. But it's Valor Comic Services. You can go on there, and I will gladly help anybody out with trying to get their comic books graded, or if I can clean press anything I can do to serve you guys. You just let me know, and I will do it for you.
Not easy to find a good presser, guys. So take
No, and a
advantage.
lot of them are also kind of back ordered. I know some people have 2 to 3 month waits right now, and I've got 3 presses up and running, so I can knock out as many as 15 books within 5 days.
Wow, dude, that's impressive. See, I just assumed you had one press. You know, I would have not known. You know,
That lasted about a month, and then we ended up getting the second one.
the demand changed a bit, huh?
Yeah, especially with Spidey Jew, he's always given me plenty to keep working on, as well as his brother and my PC. So just between the three of us, I can stay busy and work on books every day.
We always got to put our Spidey Jew on blast.
Yeah. And then this, whenever I get orders from other people, I'll actually hit the brakes and be like, "Hey guys, I'm gonna work on some actual clients real quick." And then we'll go back to our everyday process of it.
Well, dude, again, thanks again for your time, and I look forward to doing this again.
Oh, for sure, man. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Heck yeah, heck yeah. I can't wait to get my grades back. It's gonna be awesome. We're gonna have
Oh,
fun when we do that reveal.
yeah.
It's gonna be Christmas for sure.
Oh, heck yeah.
All right, man. Well, you have a great night, and you know, saludos a la familia. So that's
Hi.
my way of saying, hey, man. You know, just have a great one, and cheers to your family.
Oh, you too, man. Get ready for that vacation.
Thanks, man. Take care,
All
bro.
right. All right,
Peace.
man.